Blood and bloody buttered onions.
So the thing that I'm going to hype up that's been going on all day today, which has had me not stressed out at all, no, is the launch of the SpoilerCon webpage.
Woo!
So that's up, ready for people to register at. I think we worked out all the bugs within the first 5 minutes of getting it up. And yeah, it's awesome. We have an incredible lineup for the weekend. You know what? I'm not going to go into all the guests because I don't have the list in front of me and I'm going to miss a bunch of people.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I go to spoilercon.org, check out the schedule, check out the guest list. If anything, I would say I'm almost more impressed with the online SpoilerCon than the in-person SpoilerCon, because we were able to get so much more participation from the wider community of people who couldn't make the physical trip, but are more than happy to be there digitally. You know, there's advantages and disadvantages to what we're doing, doing this online, but I think that the planning committee has put so much thought into the events and translating them into making them work in an online setting that I am super excited to see how everything turns out. 2 days of just awesomeness.
Yeah, guys, you can go to spoilercon.org/schedule to get hyped up. We've got Broken Earth, silent auction, other things, exciting things, artist live streams. I'm leaving you guys on tenterhooks. You have to go to the website. Mm-hmm. Yeah, costume contests. Guys, be thinking about costumes now.
Definitely.
There's going to be a freaking costume contest. And try to reread the entire series several times. We're going to have trivia. We're also going to be, brush up on Min's viewings, because we're going to be debating them, particularly the ones that aren't super obvious. We decided to take some of those and open it up to y'all.
And don't forget the Michael Kramer and Kate Redding reading.
Yes.
That's our headlining thing.
Headliner.
Michael Kramer and Kate Redding coming back, and they will have just read Rhythm of War, by the way.
Oh.
So they will they're currently working on it right now, so I'm assuming they will have finished it up within a month. We got Maria, who is...
Oh my god.
I mean, basically the fact checker for Robert Jordan. Like, she knows everything. Mm-hmm. Like, basically, if there's an authority on the truth in the Wheel of Time right now, Maria is it. Because in a lot of ways, Harriet is much more on the business and editing side of things. Maria was always the timeline, fact checker, just everything was so... She was doing all the back-end stuff while Robert Jordan was doing the writing. And so basically anyone who asks any question always defers to Maria. Like, if she says it, that is the truth as much as we can tell.
And she is bringing something intense to the silent auction, guys.
You're going to have to check that one out. You're going to want...
That one is going to be vicious spitting.
Already. Those of us who know about it are already being like,
Yeah. Elbows may have been thrown already.
There was a couple of people being like, yeah, I think I'm going to have to dip into my savings for this one. So her contribution was amazing. And it's just, the list goes on and on and on. It's impossible to even start to cover everything.
Yeah. The silent auction has a lot of stuff. The Ajas have all, well, I don't know about all, but the Ajas that I know about have all worked out some cool contributions. It's going to be really exciting. You guys should definitely register at spoilercon.org/register. The dates are going to be October 2nd through 3rd. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be really fun.
And guys, it's free.
Oh, also that, it's free.
Yeah, you can donate.
You can donate.
You can donate. We have Books to Prisoners, who we donated to last year, is our charity again. That was at Michael Kramer and Kate Redding's request, and we like what they do, so we're going to stick with them. We have optional donations when you register, but you certainly don't have to. Of course, all the proceeds of the auction will go to that charity as well. Also, there are t-shirts available.
Oh, yes!
And
merch!
There's the SpoilerCon logo, which was done by Kelsey Baldwin. It's an amazing logo. It looks really great on the merch. I ordered a dark green t-shirt and a dark gray t-shirt with the logo on it.
Nice.
Or no, a light blue.
Nice.
A light blue and a dark gray. That's what I went with. And then I got a mug and I got the mask.
Nice, yeah. I got my warder and I each matching purple shirts, though they're different shades of purple because I have boobs and apparently that makes the color need to be different. Whatever. I'm also excited for the mask. But they haven't arrived yet, but I'm very excited to post pictures of the awesomeness that are these shirts, hopefully.
And I waited till today to order just to see what the experience was like on day one. But a lot of people ordered them a couple of days ago, so they should get them before I do. Anything else?
The logo adapted itself really well
it did.
to being online. just adding the little online thing, it looks so cute. It's like it was on purpose.
Yeah, it's like the fox was trying to say it.
Exactly. It's adorable. I'm just excited.
I know. We've been working on this all day. It's been...
This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast.
So this is chapter 13, Under the Dust, and our symbol is the coiled snake. The 4-clover snake, the evil snake. I don't know what you call it.
Black Aja snake? I don't know.
Which, actually, now that I think about it, what in this chapter is Black Aja?
We do have some Black Aja in here. I forget where. But we do have some random Black Aja that show up. This is a chapter that sets up everything that happens in Ebu Dar. This leads to Nyneave breaking her block. This leads to her getting married to Lan. This leads to Mat and Tylan, Mat and Tuon, Mat and Noel, finding the bowl, Adelius and Vandine and Ispan. We have a lot of setup with Dark Friend plots.
And this is, Ebu Dar, so much of the rest of the series takes place in Ebu Dar, and this is our introduction to it.
This is the fateful moment when Ebu Dar becomes destiny.
So I wonder if the snake is Tarnifier, just like sort of as a traitor type situation, like a snake among the chickens. You know, they've got someone from outside in. That's the only thing I can think of besides, because usually it means dark friends are forsaken, and I really don't think they're in this chapter.
Yeah, it's not Tarna. There is a dark friend though.
No, Tarna gets turned in the last battle.
Yeah,
so she's not. She's a dark
forcibly
friend.
turned. So definitely not a dark friend if she got turned that way. Yeah, I don't know quite. It's just sinisterness. There's a lot of sinisterness.
I'm not going to read the first paragraph. I want to skip to the second one because I think that's more interesting. But the first one is basically Theadren surprises Nyneave by dumping a bucket of water over her head, and I think what I put together is Nyneave punches a beer has just been delivered.
Wow. Nice work,
Currently
Travis.
drinking Lagunitas Hazy Wonder with a dog.
Oh, wow. We're both drinking Lagunitas.
Oh, gotta love Lagunitas. So yeah, that was effective. I just yelled for beer and it appeared. I gotta do that more often.
Nice.
I need a girlfriend!
But yes, back to the story.
That's an interruption. This beer's good, though.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you have a beer. It helps with the summer.
It does.
Everything.
So, what I put together is that Theodrin dumped a bucket of water over Nynaeve's head to shock her. And Nynaeve's response was to punch Theodrin in the face. And Theodrin's response to getting punched was to smack Nynaeve.
Yeah, just to totally slap the shit out of her.
So, like, the
bucket,
sequence
punch,
of events,
slap.
Dump, punch, slap. Like, yeah. Almost
And then
instantly.
everything's just a mess. And then the chapter picks up and is like, well, that didn't work.
Nope.
Scientifically, we can rule that out as an option.
Again, it's one of those things that Jordan does so well. He shows you the aftermath and doesn't tell you what happened. You have to put it together based on what they say and how they think about it. Like, you don't see them smack each other, but they're both sitting there with pain, and they're both bruised, they're both wet, and referring to the event that just happened, but you don't see it. I don't know how to say, like, this is what I like about Jordan any more than I already have, but, like, what I love about Jordan is that he doesn't tell you everything up front. He gives you all the pieces of the puzzle, but you have to put it together yourself. And for me, that's the big difference between Brandon and Jordan. Brandon has all the pieces, and he puts the picture together for you at the end, and it's great. It's this brilliant, beautiful picture. It's, a landscape, and I love looking at it. What Brandon does is amazing, but then you've got the whole picture, Right. And what I love about Jordan is I'm always finding another piece to put in. It's like, it's that satisfaction of like, oh, this goes here. That's so cool that fits in there,
And it keeps going.
It's fractal.
Right? Like you end up sort of bottoming out with a lot of books that do spell it out. But yeah, fractal, it's a very good word for it. It just keeps going. Like really good music. Like the louder you turn it up and the higher quality you get it in, the more you can hear the instruments.
Right.
It's like that.
Yeah, it's like you're able to separate the different frequencies in the book. And and for me, sometimes you separate them by character, sometimes you separate them by storyline, sometimes it's by, like, channelers. Like, every time I've read through the series, I'm often keeping track of a different plot line or keeping track of a different, you know, those things we talked about in the early episode where it's like things to keep track of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, the first time someone channels or something, stuff like that. Like, you can't keep track of them all every time, but if you track one on each reread, you reread the books a lot.
Yeah. and you don't get bored with it. Yeah, definitely for me, the political stuff, I tend to be like, okay, this book I'm going to really like, where is Kyrian in any given situation? How is what's happening in Kyrian influencing the entire rest of the plot? Because I'm terrible with politics, and that helps.
It does. And for me, also just like, okay, in this moment in time, what are all the other characters doing?
Right. Yeah, the 4-dimensional perspective of what's happening, not the linear one that the author gave you.
No. Just like being able to see the whole pattern from beginning to end.
Yes. Being at the center of the wheel.
Does that make us the Dark One?
No, it makes us the podcasters reborn. I don't know. I mean, like, who's to say the Dark One's evil, right? Like,
well, there's the whole argument that the Dark One and the Creator are the same thing. They both talk in all caps.
Yeah, I mean, order and entropy are the two driving forces of the space-time continuum. Like, fight me.
Okay.
No, I think I'll lose. Don't do
that.
I
don't know about that.
I haven't been in my ninja classes in a while, okay?
You've been doing Aikido. I know nothing about fighting.
I haven't been doing Aikido in like 3 months. I'm a terrible person.
Nah, just quarantined.
Zoom martial arts are just not the same. Especially not in a small room.
So I'm going to read the next sentence, because I think it's really relevant to Nyneave's personality and struggles. This whole chapter really sort of outlines her struggles really well.
This sets up how she breaks her block.
Yeah, absolutely.
And gets land.
Yeah. Frowning at the soaked garments, Nyneave considered a moment. She had never done anything like this before. The prohibition against doing chores with the power was strong, and with good reason. Saidar was seductive. The more you channeled, the more you wanted to channel. And the more you wanted to channel, the greater the risk that eventually you would draw too much and still or kill yourself. The sweetness of the true source filled her easily now. Theadren's bucket of water had seen to that, if the rest of the morning had not. A simple weave of water drew all the moisture from her clothes to fall on the floor in a puddle that quickly spread to join what the bucket had put there. I am not very good at surrendering, she said. Unless there was no point in fighting anyway. Only a fool went on when there was no chance at all. She could not breathe underwater, she could not fly by flapping her arms, and she could not channel except when angry. One of those things is like the other.
So, does that mean she actually can fly?
I mean, show wings are a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Nyneave figures it out at some point in the future.
Just saying, like, she can do the other two, why not the third?
I mean, technically she can't breathe underwater, but she does channel underwater.
Right, I mean, yeah, exactly.
But she gives up. She says, I am going to die.
Yeah, she has to convince herself of that, which is bizarre. Yeah, I had that underlined and arrowed out in my book, too. She could not breathe underwater.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, you can't, but you can learn to surrender to Saidar underwater.
That's such a big line. I feel like I circled that a million times when I saw it. I was just like, yes.
Yeah, that is such a Jordan saying. This is how she will break her block, is she will be forced into a situation where she will drown if she doesn't channel.
I have to wonder if maybe he was thinking about throwing her off a cliff.
Oh, because of the flying thing.
And that whole, like, while she's falling, she comes to the same realization that she can't, there's nothing she can do. She's going to hit the ground, and then at the last minute channels that cushion of air. You know, that would be the only other, that would be kind of a, if he was just thinking about a couple of different ways to do it. But I like the boat thing better.
For sure. And Androl ended up having that whole thing about, like, jumping off of cliffs to prove your bravery, and his father had jumped off a cliff to kill himself because he was able to channel.
Oh, I never made that connection before.
Yeah, Androl's father committed suicide with the full communication with his wife being like, look, I've manifested the ability to channel.
Right.
I'm going to go take care of that. So then for Androl, it was important to jump off those cliffs with the sea folk to, like, dive into the ocean. It was a whole weird little itty-bitty piece of his... I love Androl. Androl's such an interesting window.
And you got to wonder about the experience of jumping off the cliff and sort of relating to that falling feeling and being like, this is the last thing my father felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Ah, great insight. I completely missed that parallel.
Lots of rereads.
Right. I've told myself I need to go back and redo the last three. They're my weakest by far.
Same. I've only been through them like 3 times. It's shameful.
I love that Nyneave dumps the water on a cat.
That's actually Theodren.
Oh, yes.
It totally is. Because
Yes.
I thought it was Nyneave at first, too, because it says here that it goes into a pile. Theodren's the one that takes the ball of water and throws it on a cat.
Gotcha. Okay. Not Nyneave.
I totally thought it was Nyneave when I first read it.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Well, because Nynaeve's the one who's gathering the water.
She puts it in a puddle, and then Theodren pulls it up into this weird, trippy ball that looks like it's in 0G.
You read too fast, and it looks like Nynaeve's doing it all.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did. But yeah, Theodren just dumps it out the window and hits a cat, and I'm like, that's very out of character with Theodren, I think.
I don't think she meant to hit the cat. I think that's just supposed to be like...
True.
I mean...
Comic.
Yeah, I mean, how is that not classic comedy where someone dumps water out the thing and you...
Yeah,
well,
you should put that sound effect in there.
Totally. That's a very cinematic sound effect.
Yes, like a cartoon.
I think that's Joyce Jordan being funny, honestly.
I agree. Physical humor. Because this is like, there's not a lot of comedy in this book.
How much do you find the hypocrisy funny?
Right, yeah. This one's just some straight up physical humor, and it's nice.
The most important thing I had about the next section is that, despite all of her complaining and all of her bitching, she wanted Theodren to be successful, even if it entailed 10 buckets of water. She wants to be able to channel at will. Do you imagine how frustrating it is to be like, I have to keep myself in constant sense of anger and frustration. I mean, based on the politics of today, I have been in a constant sense of anger and frustration, so I get why that's really frustrating and angering to have to do that all the time. Like, to just constantly work yourself up. Like, it's not healthy. That's how people get ulcers.
No.
Well, that's not how people get ulcers, because ulcers are bacterial, not stress-related. Well, the topic.
It's bad for your body to be stressed constantly. Things will break somehow. It's not good.
The whole constant hormones fight or flight thing in your blood.
Yeah, cortisol at high doses it's not recommended. 10 out of 10 doctors would not recommend.
No.
Yeah, I was thinking about that with the way that they approach Nynaeve's hair drying. Specifically, like because I saw what you were saying or I saw the same thing you were saying, that Nynaeve wants this, right? She really wants this. And so Nynaeve is trying to lie and say, well, just leave it at that. Like, it's fine. She's putting this fake face on while she, is starting to dry her hair. And Theodren's like, no, leave that. Let that dry naturally and then come back to these damn exercises. And I feel like it feels like this weird throwaway line, but hair is a symbol. Like, there is a philosophical difference in their approach to everything about life and their whole worldview that is encapsulated in that, why Theodren is pointing that out to her and saying, leave it alone. Because Nynaeve can't leave it alone. She can never leave anything alone.
Yeah, and I like the parallels. They do a lot of parallels between Nynaeve trying to heal Suan and Leanne acting the same way that Nynaeve is acting towards Theodren, which is, oh, it's fine, I don't need it, it's not really that important, which is, it's the one thing you want desperately, but you don't think it's ever going to happen. So you buffer yourself to be like, well, I guess it'll never happen, so I don't care about it that much.
Right, and then you can't risk wanting it, because then what if you're disappointed?
Exactly.
Yeah, you learn a lot from watching Nynaeve and Saladar. There's a lot of very straightforward lessons coming out of her Saladar period of time.
Okay, question. Why does Nynaeve use the standard water, spirit, and air healing on Theodren and not the 5 power channeling healing?
Because she's trying to conform to what an Aes Sedai is supposed to be?
When does she use her normal healing, and when does she use Aes Sedai healing? And when, those are definitely 2 different weaves, right? She's able to learn them both.
Yeah. She uses her healing only in times of serious distress. So when she's afraid someone's going to die. So Egwene with breakbone fever, Elayne with a broken skull, or Lyanna and Swan with being, and Logain with being stilled. These are things that she's reaching beyond what should be possible because she's desperate for it. And healing a bruise is like, once she gets the idea that you can just reach out with your mind and heal a bruise, like she can just do it without thinking. And I think that's the difference, is how because she only learns some things in desperation, right? But she does learn healing from the yellows, albeit badly, because she's a terrible student.
Well, and her healing can heal one thing, whereas the yellows can only heal. I think they say we heal everything, we can only control how much it gets healed.
Right.
And that means that if you're wounded too bad, they have to basically pick a point and be like, well, we have to heal him enough that he survives, but not too much that we drain all his energy and kill him. And that's really the only lever they have to pull. Whereas Nyneave can be like, oh, well, I can heal this gaping wound and leave all the bruises alone. And that will keep his body from overtaxing itself as much.
Is that really what she's able to do? I've always been confused on where the lines are with that, with healing. Because I know she uses different ingredients, but she's able to be that precise?
Yes. The big difference between the yellow healing weave and Nynaeve's is that the yellows have to heal everything. They talk about, I forget who the most talented yellow is, but she's like super duper talented, and she's the one who like can carefully tune it. Semitsu? And so, yeah, she heals the brain of the Ashaman, and like, but she can't just heal one thing. She has to do it all. And then this whole 5-power thing lets you be more specific.
Gotcha.
The other thing about the 5-power healing is it doesn't actually take energy from the body as much. I think it takes more energy from the channeling and less from... You don't get Rand, like, gasping and flailing around as much with the new kind of healing, right? That whole...
Right.
Basically dunking you in a tank of water that heals everything is a shock to your entire body, whereas, like, Nynaeve's healing is more like, okay, I'm just going to heal that one thing.
Right, which we know is a throwback to the way that it worked in the Age of Legends. Like, all they have is the rough battlefield magic now. Like, Nynaeve is rediscovering a nuance that did exist. Okay, gotcha.
Because with her healing, you can save people who wouldn't be able to be saved with battlefield stuff.
Right.
Because it would take too much energy to heal them, and that kills them.
Right. But yeah, I mean, healing a bruise is just basically giving you, like, an extra couple of nights worth of healing. Like, it's not a huge deal. You don't need to be all fancy. Like, battlefield is fine, and I guess that's why she does that. Also, she's pleased that Theodren feels cold and shivery from this, so that might also be factoring into why it's going this way.
She wants Theodren to feel.
Yeah. It's like picking the more bitter but effective medicines, you know? She's picking the more shocking healing flows.
And so the next thing I have is her running into Tarnifier.
Mm-hmm.
Who I think we talked about in the last chapter. She's from the Red Aja. She's an emissary from the White Tower. She is not a Dark Friend because she gets turned in the Black Tower, so they wouldn't need to turn her if she was already a Dark Friend. But she's kind of awful.
Yes. Classic Elida carbon copy red.
After Dumai's Wells, she sort of takes all the Aes Sedai who survived that into hand and take them back to the White Tower. She sort of scoops them up. So she's actually one of the more competent Tower Aes Sedai.
Yeah. I kind of want to compare her to Galena, if Galena wasn't a black, terrible Aja person.
She's still terrible. She's just red terrible, not black terrible.
Right. But very stern, very capable. Like, not the worst person to have at the helm of a ship in a storm, necessarily.
Yeah, you just need her to have the same goals you do.
Right. But she's very much a sort of like snake in the grass kind of vibe here when she, just talks to Elayne and then sends her away and pretends to be nice to Nyneave, and then the mask falls off when she doesn't get what she wants. Like, she's not doing herself any favors on the publicity front in this chapter.
No, definitely not.
But at the same time, she is trying to argue with teenagers. So, like, I can kind of see why she's a little excessively patient with them.
Arguing with teenagers, never fun.
Here's my list of the sisters that are... Okay, so we've got Esmeralda getting mentioned. She's brown. She's one of the 2 young sitters. We've got Valon, who's a gray, and goes to the White Tower during the last battle to help run it. And then we've got Dagdara. She's the black.
Oh,
Dagdara is our Dark Friend alert. And this is just in Elayne ranting about her Turangrial making classes. But that's where our Dark Friend is a yellow-black who ends up at an unknown location at the end of the series.
See, I think the snake in the grass is Tarna. I don't think it's Dagdara.
Same.
I think that works better as just like, we have a traitor amongst us.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, the fact that Tarna's even there represents the fact that there's a traitor in the camp.
So I don't think we need to turn to Dark Friends, even though they've mentioned one. I mean, It's such a casual mention of Dagdara. I have a hard time believing that the chapter title is based around it.
Yeah, no, Dagdara doesn't do anything relevant to anything that happens in this chapter. All she does is keep Varolin from self-immolating and dying, which is arguably a good thing.
This line, if we can't learn how to detect a man channeling, maybe we can learn to detect what he's done? Not so much possible. You can sort of see the effects, and if you know where it is, you can affect it. But I don't think no one ever is able to find a way to detect what a man has done. I think Moraine was implying that if you know there's a weave there, you can affect it.
There's the residue reading talent, right?
I thought that was only for Saidar. I didn't think they could read Saidin at all. Because when they use the Bowl of the Winds, the Saidin's totally gone.
I want to say that that's in that meeting with when the Ashaman shows up after the cleansing to prove to the Saladar Aes Sedai that Saidin is clean. And he extends a weave towards one of the sitters so that way a different sitter can be like, I can tell where you're putting the weave. Oh, yeah, it's in the aftermath of the Shadar Logoth investigation. That's the discussion. And, yeah, they read Saidin residues there. And then I think in that meeting, some of the bonded Ashaman Aes Sedai show up and are like, oh, by the way, the dragon says to knock it the fuck off with stigmatizing men who can channel. Or something, but I'm really fuzzing on all the specific mechanics as I haven't read that scene in a long time. Nicola gets mentioned in this chapter being annoying and uncooperative.
Is that just not her only role in the entire series? Constantly? Annoying and uncooperative?
Nyneave pretending to be cowardly while also saying she snuck up to a lion's den and eavesdropped. That's fucking hilarious. And she's like, I'm such a coward. And it's like... I'm with Elayne here. I'm just rolling my eyes with Elayne. Like, you what?
After that, she goes back to the room and finds Elayne basically lying down. Because she's dealing with all the Terangreal. All the women who want to learn how to channel Terangreal, whether they can or not. We get the list of Aes Sedai. And then she immediately is like, God damn it. Moghedien keeps complaining about how we should go to Caemlyn. And I'm sick of it, you know?
Awful whining!
Yeah, awful whining. And then he's like, I
God.
think we should be doing that, actually.
Teenagers.
Interesting point. Moghedien is the one who convinced Nyneave she should go to Caemlyn. So Moghedien has convinced both Nyneave and Egwene that they should be going... Well, has convinced Nyneave and is complaining to Egwene they should go to Caemlyn. Why is Moghedien setting them up to go to Caemlyn? I think she just wants to get out of, possibly, the rebel camp. Because it's dangerous.
I'm gonna go with it's the most likely place that they would go to. Yeah. It's about running away, not running towards. Also, the fact that Moghedien would not want to go to Ravin, but she would want them to leave, very much so. So yeah, if Caemlyn is the one place they would agree on, that's going to be where she tries to convince them to go. I think it's interesting that they're making conclusions that are wrong from their incomplete information. It's not interesting, it's just funny. They think, Elayne and Nyneave think that the Hall is planning on considering going back to the tower.
Right.
And giving up on the Red Aja and Loghain, because how could they possibly anticipate the waiting on Egwene thing?
Right, no, I mean, that's such a crazy thing. They're like, wait, the mini-hall has made up their mind that they're going to raise Egwene Amyrlin, and they're just stalling Tarna until they can get a hold of her.
Exactly.
The girls don't have that one crucial piece of information, and so they make all sorts of terrible assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Much like Balwer.
Yes.
In the last chapter we talked together on.
Why is Tom in Amadisha? I mean, he was sent off to scout, but what? Shouldn't he be hanging around
I
Elayne?
don't get that.
Yeah.
I don't get that whole mission.
I looked it up, and he returns, and he brings information.
The Hall sends these two experienced scouters to go out and figure out exactly how much danger they're in from Amadisia, I think, right? Just because of the war and the proximity and the everything.
Fair enough.
And so they bring back the reassurance that they aren't about to be invaded by White Cloaks, I guess. That's all I've ever gotten out of it.
Oh, you know what he brings? He brings back the news that Elayne's mother is there.
Oh,
that's
right.
why he's there. That's
plot
sort
reasons. Of a big deal.
Yeah, that's sort of a big deal. Now, she laughs in his face, but it's important that she gets that information and hears those rumors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's also when Tom gets the rumors that Balwer puts out and puts together the story and is all like, that doesn't make sense.
So Niall's manipulating things.
Yeah, we do get a lot of important information. But yeah, particularly Morghese. That's a very important piece of info. Poor Julian. He just got beat up a whole bunch to make that happen.
Julian went with Tom, right?
Yeah, they come back. Pretty much every time that Tom goes out on a real fact-finding mission, he takes Julian along, and Julian gets exactly no credit for anything.
Yeah, Julian is kind of like the Talmanis to Tom's Matt.
Yeah, but Tom keeps him around, so clearly he is extremely useful off-screen. We just never get to see it.
Talmanis is definitely written as an incredibly capable character. Not powerful, but capable.
Yeah, so one can assume that Julian is akin. Though very different people.
Did I say Tom? I meant Julian.
You said Talmanis.
Talmanis. Well, you know what?
It applies to him, too. I really like Brando Sando's Talmanis.
Yeah, that's a great Talmanis. And it made me relook at Jordan's Talmanis in a different light and see some of the humor.
Yeah, for sure. But I wish we could have seen more of Julian, because he seems like a funny, useful character, and all he does is keep our main cast alive off-screen.
Right, and like all we see of him is like the stupid hat thing.
Fezzes are cool.
So Tarna walks in.
Yes.
And I love Nyneave's line. "Thank you," Nyneave said, "to show she'd be as civil as Elayne." But she leaves off the honorific, so she's deliberately insulting her while thinking, I'm being super civil.
Yeah.
Very Nyneave.
Which, like, in fairness, Tarna introduces herself by calling her the crippled Wilder.
Right.
So,
I mean,
tit for tat.
Right. Which, by the way, she was a crippled Wilder, right?
Right. Yes, she was. She was beaten into compliance by Galena Casban, which is why she reminds me of Galena so much.
There's something there that abuse passes on.
Yeah, there's a darkness that came from Galena into Tarna, even without the Black Aja explicitly being a part of it. There's just some abuse, cycle, trauma, loveliness.
Prepping her for conversion.
And yet she still had to be forcibly converted, so...
No, she's not a bad person. She's just a bad person.
Yeah, she's not evil. She's just terrible.
And that was illegal at the time, and still is. Theadren would never do that. Like, she's not cruel. The only reason Galena could get away with that is, like, she didn't fucking have the oaths.
Well, I mean, is it using the power as a weapon if you're helping someone?
Did she use the power?
Oh, that's a good point. I don't even know if she used the power. I'm assuming it was like Elida, but yeah. Galena probably did just literally paddle the living shit out of her.
She beat the block out of me. I don't assume there was any power used there. I assume she used her arm.
Yeah.
Because there's no restrictions.
That seems very...
You know, we talk about, well, as an Aes Sedai, you can't use the power to defend yourself, but there's nobody says anything about a knife or a fist. You know, that's... Nyneave steps through that loophole often.
Yeah, for sure. Knives, gravity, there's so many things you can kill with as an Aes Sedai.
Well, just as a person.
Right, but even with the limitations of being an Aes Sedai. Like, you're plenty murder happy if you want to be. And yeah, Galena definitely is the kind of person who wouldn't mind getting her hands dirty.
Tarna gives this line, which I feel like we get a lot from the Tower Aes Sedai. The Amyrlin intends to give him every honor he deserves. We hear that over and over and over again. They just think he deserves to be locked in a box.
I think he deserves to be held on a leash until it is time to be trotted out, kill the Dark One, and then lay down and die.
Lamb for the slaughter. So Tarna asks Nyneave, they're basically there to find out information about Rand, because she's like, we're going to try and manipulate him. I need to know something about him. And Nyneave just lies through her fucking teeth and tells him all the wrong things.
Inverts what she's been saying to everyone else.
Mainly, all I remember is a boy who never listened to reason. Rand always listens to reason if you talk through it with him. He had to be pushed into doing what he should or dragged into it. That's the worst way to deal with him. Of course, that was when he was a boy. He might have changed. I mean, if they follow her advice, they'll just be like sticking their hand in the hornet's nest. Yeah,
she's sticking a stick in the spokes a little bit heavy-handedly, I think. Honestly, I think that's about Tarna she's buying this not at all.
Oh, no, absolutely not. But Nyneave is being like, it's basically her being like, I'm not telling you shit.
True, it is a bit of just a fuck you.
Yeah.
It's not actually meant to be true disinformation. I mean, she thinks of it as disinformation in the next paragraph, but, like, it's as much of a calling her, like, leaving off the honorific from her name, right? It's like, I'm polite. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Oh, you want to know how to deal with my friend? Yeah, why don't you punch him in the face, and that'll make him real cooperative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it's almost sarcasm. Just being like, oh yeah, why don't you go ahead? And I knew a boy who never listened to reason.
I do think it's interesting how much Tarna is trying to push the this is a foregone conclusion, so you might as well give up angle, which seems to only be pushed by people who have absolutely no other cards to play. Like, it's inevitable. You have to give us this information. It's better if you give it to us now. And it's like, or we could wait, and then you could continue to stumble in the dark.
Right. Or I could not help you. That works for me, too. Not help you do the thing I don't want you to do, because you're a red Aes Sedai who's split the tower.
And who's literally trying to bribe Nyneave with being an Aes Sedai, which, like, have you read this woman's file? That's not going to work.
And then trying to frighten her? Dude, she's got Moghedien locked up in the fucking next room. You're going to, like, try and intimidate someone who literally has a Forsaken under her command. Not going to work.
Like, it's just, the amount of arrogance is staggering. And Tarna's not even that old. Like, it's ridiculous that she's this arrogant, and she's only, like, 40 years to the Shal or something. It's not like she's 150.
Well, well, again, age isn't a big deal for Aes Sedai. It's power.
I mean, true. But Nynaeve's powerful as fuck.
But she's not Aes Sedai.
Hate their ranking system.
She's novice, and it doesn't matter when you're a novice. All novices are below the lowest Aes Sedai.
Well, technically she's an accepted, but point taken. From an Aes Sedai's perspective, it's like
whatever.
Potato.
Yeah, just because one has bands of color at the bottom doesn't mean they're not all idiots.
Right. Which, like, I mean, truth.
So the next thing them is saying, hey, we're afraid. They think that the Little Hall's going to choose to unite, which is not going to happen. But that frightens them into thinking about the using need to find things in Teleron Riyadh, which is something we saw them get from the Aiel.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the only lessons we ever actually see transmit from the Aiel to the Aes Sedai group.
Well, and that's because they give it to Egwene, right? Because Egwene uses it to find... When do they explain need?
Before this.
Yeah. Because Egwene uses it by accident to find Amis.
To find Tanchico.
No, Amis. Because she's thinking about she needs a teacher, and then she pops into Amis's presence. Right.
She finds Tanchico and then finds the waste, and it's that whole thing.
But there's something else. She gives the whole lecture about stepping into the snake's den.
Yeah, it's after Elayne, or after Egwene is in the waste, because she's there nodding along in the dream.
It's the sad bracelets. It's what leads them to the sad bracelets in Tanchico.
Oh, you're right. Egwene finds the key in Tanchico, but then Nyneave finds the actual thing also in Tanchico.
And she sees it in Teleron Riyadh, but there's Moghedien has covered it with a weave, so you can't see it.
Right.
But she knows it's there
because it's a danger to Rand.
Right.
How do they find out that there's a danger to Rand that they have to find?
They're looking for the Black Sisters, so they're basically looking for the biggest evil they can find.
Oh, right, because they have the rumor that there's something of terrible power.
Yes.
That's dangerous to Rand. Yes. Oh my god. I feel like such a ding-dong for needing to work through this so slowly.
I know. Well, there's a lot of words, and even though we've covered it, it's amazing how... Yeah, so I recently played trivia with DT's trivia game, which, by the way, is amazing.
We were on the same team.
Yeah, we were.
And we failed together. It was great.
Really bad, yeah.
Morgan.
Morgan. I completely lost track of my thought process there.
How hard it is to keep track of everything in this series.
Oh.
Trivia?
Right. So the trivia was on the first 3 books, and I was like, yeah, I did those in the podcast. I know everything about them. And then I'm like, oh my god, it's been a year or 2 years since I really did a podcast on these guys. A lot of the details have faded.
Yep.
I missed some stuff that I was like, oh, I should know that. The Three Kings one?
I had my ass handed to me. Yeah, God, the Three Kings one. Granted, that was the who the fuck is this question, but still. It was a very well-constructed set of questions.
It was.
Yeah, so Elayne's basically the genius that sets in motion things that dictate how the last battle goes because of this.
Well, and she's all about staying there and helping Rand, whereas Nyneave is getting out and we need to do something else.
Right.
Elayne really wants the tower to be behind Rand because she cares so much about him.
Which, honestly, I think Elayne's way more right. I think Nyneave is definitely suffering from her own tunnel vision at this point, and Elayne is seeing way more clear-headed.
Oh, yeah, we talked about how she needs to get, she's so desperate to get out of there for, kind of ridiculous reasons, but also, legit reasons because they could get discovered.
But, Elayne not only sees what they need to do, she conceives of the entire utility of Teleron Riyadh and gets the rings before she even tells Nyneave, this is what we're doing.
No, I mean, Elayne's the planner, right? She makes the plans. Nyneave is definitely a walk in and punch somebody in the face as hard as you can, Elayne's strong point has always been game of houses.
And gambling with her life.
Well, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think she and Matt have an awful lot in common.
True. And not just in the cursing. But yeah, no, Elayne plans except when it comes to self-preservation. But she plans when there's a bigger goal at stake.
Can I just say in the beginning of the series, I kind of shipped Matt and Elayne.
I can totally see that. I definitely, when I was trying to anticipate who was going to end up with who, and I saw how much Jordan was flipping tropes, I was like, the friend and the princess? I like it. I dig it.
It's basically Spaceballs.
Yes! Oh my god! I can see it. I've read some very compelling arguments for why it's a terrible ship, but I totally agree. Early in the series, like, it's easy to see.
But, Matt marrying an arrogant empress, queen.
Yep.
It's kind of what happens, right? Like,
yeah, imperial nobles are actually more of his style than he would like to admit.
That's very true. And then one of my favorite fucking scenes with Gareth Bryn is him just sitting calmly out the window, eating lunch.
Yes! That's so him! Quintessential him!
Just like, yeah, don't betray my soldiers. I told you if we started this, you can't abandon us and leave it. Take care of your soldiers. We are here. Don't forget us. Look at us.
Yeah.
And that's such a badass move when he's surrounded by these women of power.
Such a power move.
And you can see why he supports Egwene when she, starts to take power, because,
oh, yeah.
He's dealing with all of the... And we've talked about how Gareth Bryn is super insightful and almost always knows exactly what's going on, even when he doesn't say it.
And he's also very much someone who judges you based on your merit, not on your pedigree or on your resume. So when Egwene steps up to the plate and is like, I see what needs to be done and I know how to do it and I'm going to respect the fact that men are going to die over my decisions, he's like, I don't see 18. Sold. I see responsible.
She's more of an adult than almost anyone else in that camp.
Yeah, aside from, his crush, who's her mentor.
Well, there is that too, yeah. She is sort of...
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of Swan's glamour rubbing off on Egwene from Bryn's perspective.
I almost want to say, daughter-in-law type situation. Somehow,
yeah.
Or nephew's niece situation, uncle situation. Somehow he's not, he seems to be related and a mentor, but, with more caring than you would expect from someone who's a general. You would expect it from family, the way he treats her.
Right, but it's also not a direct mentor like a father figure.
No, not at all.
It's off to the side because he's, associated with her literal and figurative symbolic mother figure as Amyrlin.
No, she called Suan mother many times, and Suan is now in a relationship with Gareth Bryn, so yeah.
Yeah, or will be, or pseudo is. They're in the weird courting, Pride and Prejudice phase. Or whatever the fuck is going on
I
there.
consider this a relationship, whether they're physical or intimate or whatever is going on, they are in a relationship together.
Yeah, there's a part in Broken Earth where it's, have you slept with him yet? And it's like, no, not yet.
Right.
You have to admit, the yet is there.
Right.
The fact that the yet is there means that this is a relationship.
Right.
Yeah. I do want to ask, total not related to Gareth Bryn, how the fuck does the Bowl of the Winds help convince the Hall not to go to Elaida?
I have a theory about that, and I'll tell you when we get there.
Okie dokie, because I got nothing.
So first of all, they hit Teleron Riyadh. Nyneave is thinking about land when she goes to sleep, so she pops in a blue silk ball gown embroidered with golden flowers around the low neckline and entwined lines down the full skirt. She could feel velvet dancing slippers on her feet. I wonder who she's thinking about when she wears that outfit. Dancing with Lan, perhaps?
And Elayne's just smiling knowingly.
Here's an important line. According to you, the wise one said the stronger the need, the better. Elayne says a key thing, which is what you want is not always what you need.
Right.
And so they go into this quest wanting something to keep the tower Aes Sedai helping Rand. What they need is something to deal with the weather. And the need to deal with the weather is so much stronger than their wants, which aren't really, they don't need to convince the tower to back Rand. They're already going to do it. I think that the need of the world burning overcame their selfish quest.
Yeah, I agree. Because, they're looking for an answer that doesn't need to happen. They're looking for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. So they're arguably there is nothing that would convince the Hull not to go back to Elida, because the Hull isn't considering going back to Elida. So, like, I just wonder how Talleyrand Riyadh was able to turn that intention into finding a solution for the weather.
Next page, they do their first jump. We'll talk about that in a second, but they get to Tarvalon, and they're like, oh, this cache isn't accessible to us. I think these are Terangrial nobody has found a use for yet. That's the only reason they would be guarded like this. It's dangerous even to channel close to them. If we try again, won't it just bring us right back to here? And so they actually have to change what they're looking for so it doesn't take them right back to the White Tower.
Right.
And so now they're changing, we need a Terangrial that isn't in Tarvalon. And we need a Terangrial that isn't in Tarvalon. Well, the Bowl of the Winds fits that need perfectly.
And then the pattern can just autofill the other defaults from there.
Right. What's your need? The need is the weather. Terangrial that'll do it. That's the Bowl of the Winds.
But they don't know they're looking to fix the weather, per se.
No, but they need to.
Right. But their search terms don't include that.
That's where I think the stronger the need, the better, where the need is really just so out of control.
Plus, they need to go to Abu Dar to drag Matt
there's
to Abu Dar for reasons.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's not strong. It's not strong. I'm not going to say that that's the greatest argument I've ever come up with.
Okay, I like it, though.
Yeah, in no way.
Keep looking for bits of evidence.
The only other theory I have is that finding the Bowl of Winds is a huge boost to Egwene, and Egwene needs it to help unite the tower and gather her support. But it doesn't seem to have that effect. Like, it doesn't really seem to matter. Like, she gains her power her own ways. The successful use of the Bowl of the Winds isn't what puts her into power.
Rand also needs the Sea Folk, and they really get brought into the fold profoundly by the bargain that brings the bull into use.
Yeah, but what's the pattern? What's the need? What's the Ta'veren? Like, what's pulling on what strings to cause what to happen when? That's a tough thing to parse.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for talking through that anyway, even if there isn't a clear answer.
Sure, I mean, that's what I've thought about. I don't have an answer. That's just those are totally just my thoughts about it, because, yeah, I've always wondered it doesn't seem like what they set out to find is what they end up finding.
It's an interesting question.
So when they do go to Tarvalon, there's some interesting things happening. There's people screaming and falling and
heaps of garbage.
Coarse laughter with a maniacal edge. I was wondering if maybe there's some, we know that Messana is in the White Tower. And do you think maybe she could be projecting some nightmares the way Ravine did when he was the stone?
Maybe. I also saw this more as a reflection of Elida's neglect for the care of her people and her city, and the trickle-down cascade of fuckery that happens when a leader is very selfish and encourages selfishness amongst their immediate subordinates, and it just cascades down through the whole system.
And that explains why Elayne really doesn't like it, is she's very sensitive to
that
sort of thing.
Right. As someone who should have been a gray, not a green, it's definitely something she can recognize. But at the same time, Messana is there to sow division and chaos and create uncertainty. She's using Alviarin to foment a lot more of that discord than Elida alone would have done. So projecting nightmares absolutely would fit her MO and not be a waste of energy from her perspective at this point.
Or it could just be the people are having a shitty day and, every day. Because Tarvalon sucks now,
Yeah, because Elida is really neglecting the city, because I think that we even see piles of garbage in the real world.
Yeah, well, I mean, for it to reflect in Talleyrand Riyadh, it's got to be there in the real world.
So, Elida is a terrible leader, but there's a lot of people helping make sure she's as terrible as she can possibly be.
They reference the fact that they saw Leanne in the last chapter.
Yeah.
Not very forthcoming about what she'd been doing. I think we figured out that was the blue tables was the sign.
She's painting blue, or getting them to paint things blue. I'm not quite sure exactly how she's doing, but she's doing some kind of call and response with, if you paint this thing blue, then you'll get a sign, and it's increasing the awe and legend of the mysterious Aes Sedai. I think she must be, like Julian, a lot of the cool stuff she does for the plot we don't see on screen, but I think she's being very inventive with how to utilize this new tool she just got handed.
Well, and she's a spy master who's just given, the keys to walk into any freaking building in Tarvalon, like, and she's got a bunch of spies in there. So clearly she's communicating with them.
Yeah, her and Bulwer could probably have a hella game of cat and mouse.
That actually, yeah, that would be interesting.
Because, I mean, again, we just don't see where her genius lies, but I bet that it is serious genius.
Any idea who this plump, novice-clad girl popping into existence is? Her big eyes going wider when she saw them. Please, she whimpered, please, and was gone.
No. Because Sarah, the only one I immediately was like, is it Sarah? But Sarah wasn't described as plump.
And didn't she die on the farm?
Oh, no, this is after that, isn't it? Yeah, so I have no idea. Gonna guess a novice who stayed in the tower.
I thought Else for a second with the big eyes, but,
yeah,
she's gone. So, no theories about that. But right after that, Elayne sees Egwene. And she does see Egwene.
Yes.
Because in the next chapter, Egwene is like, I got the hell out of there as fast as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting. In her sentence, she's like, because I had a dream that it would go bad if they saw me.
Yeah, she has the prophetic dreams that something breaks or something like that if they try to communicate.
So it turns out that the reason she's avoiding them is entirely like a prophecy dream. And I have to wonder if maybe her avoiding them forced them to consider this trip to Abu Dar. And if she talked to them, it would have not, something else would have happened, and then, it would have broken the pattern.
Huh. I had not really thought of that. I just assumed something reasons, but that is interesting to consider exactly what would have gone wrong. Because, yeah, if they hadn't gone to Abu Dar,
I mean, world burns.
the summer would have fucked everything.
Right.
So bad. Maybe someone would have overheard it, or maybe it would have just been a different choice. I agree with Super Skylake. I agree that the White Tower must have a Bull of the Winds or other weather-controlled ter'angreal, and that's why they go to that storeroom in the first place. I totally agree that the reason that they're there is because weather. I just am befuddled that Tel'aran'rhiod is that clever at its job.
Well, I'll be right back. I'm going to grab another beer, and then we should go to Abu Dar.
Another beer. I like this idea. I'm going to go get another beer, too. Going to Abu Dar, I like that they're basically using a exclusionary or SQL query to figure this out.
It's like, I'm not sure if that works, but hey, Tel'aran'rhiod, I guess it's a computer simulation. Close enough.
Yeah, you just got to build your query in the right order. Right. It's fine.
It's just basically Google.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just minus search term. But yeah, exclusionary or.
This is Nyneave and Elayne saying, I'm feeling lucky. Click.
Yeah, totally.
So I love the description of Abu Dar. Actually, the nicer part. I'm going to read just a bit of that.
Ooh, it's pretty. Yeah, do it.
Slender, balcony-ringed towers stood everywhere, like spears driven through round slices of ornate confection. Every building was white. The doorways and windows large pointed arches, sometimes double or triple arches. On the grander buildings, long balconies of white-painted wrought iron with intricate wrought iron screens to hide any occupants, looked down on the streets and canals, and white domes, banded with scarlet or gold, rose to points as sharp as the towers.
So pretty.
Almost seems like Moscow a little bit to me, with those domes and the points, just whiter, like white stone.
Yeah, it definitely has that Ottoman, like Islam Ottoman sort of style that goes all the way from the Middle East up through Russia. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the domes, the spires, and their contrast of color, because we know, right, that the buildings are all super colorful on the inside. So when I was reading that paragraph, I was thinking of bright blue sky with these bright white buildings, and then on the inside, the bright blue sky is repeated in paint.
Or all sorts of colors, yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of colors. It's really, really gorgeous. And, like, can the show get to that part soon so we can see set pictures, please?
And the White Tower is there to keep the buildings cool, because they reflect the light instead of absorbing it, so...
Yeah, I imagine that is definitely why the city is so white.
Abu Dar is hot. It's the innkeeper who laughs at the idea of frozen water falling from the sky. Like, Abu Dar is that kind of place. Like, it's New Orleans hot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like, how little clothing can you get away with wearing? Okay, less. Yeah. That will be good.
And so they shift again, and they end up in the Riyadh, the bad part of town.
It might as well be a different city.
And I noticed they're hemmed in on both sides by buildings 5 and 6 stories high. Here's my question. How many stories is in the building with the Bowl of the Winds.
See, I totally forgot to note what the description is, so we're going to find out as we go through this together.
No, we won't. It's not in this chapter.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
It's not until they find it again in the real world. You never find out. Because they debate about it, right?
I am so offended! Jordan!
They don't check. They don't check the number of stories. And he doesn't say it. So we don't know until they actually find it in Ebu Dar and find the Bowl of the Winds. It's like a 2-book debate, whether it's 5 or 6 stories.
Oh my god. I assumed it must be notated here because that's the kind of Easter eggy bullshit that Robert Jordan pulls. I did not expect him to not actually specify in this
That's
book.
why I said buildings, 5 and 6 stories high. He says both.
What a fuckhead. Thank you, Jordan, for continuing to subvert my expectations of you.
Because they constantly argued about it, and I was like, fine, I'll go back and find where they looked at it, and fucking... But it's not there. You son of a bitch, it's not there. And I didn't notice either, right? They didn't notice, I didn't notice. You didn't notice on the reread, right?
Oh my god.
Fucking Jordan.
I am just... Okay, not saying that this is going to be in the trivia at SpoilerCon, but this is definitely going to be in the trivia at SpoilerCon.
Do you know the name of the chapter where they find the Bowl of the Winds?
No, but it'll take me...
6 stories.
Are you fucking kidding
Nope.
me? God!
I spent a good half an hour today trying to find that chapter. What chapter is it in? What chapter is it in? The chapter's called Because I Want to Know How Many Stories. I've spent...
What band are you going to go see tonight? The Who. The Who?
Yeah. And so I'm searching. And finally I'm like, God damn it, Travis, I cannot find this chapter. I need to walk the dog. I can't figure out what the fuck, like... And he's like, it's called 6 Stories, Seth. I was like, what? It's like, yeah, the name of the chapter. I was like, no. I can't believe... I felt like such a moron looking for that thing.
I can't breathe. This is insane. Jordan, you are trolling us so hard right now.
This whole thing is a troll. The whole thing is a fucking troll.
Oh my god. I love this so much.
He's playing with our perception. It's the same way that he plays with Rand's perception of time in The Eye of the World. This is very much our perception of paying attention to details, right? Like, wait, what was that detail? Was it 5 or 6? Like, this is Jordan being like, you better be paying attention. Did I say 5 or did I say 6?
And even if you are paying attention,
you might not.
That doesn't fucking matter. I'm still God, and I will still fuck with your head. Oh my god.
This is one of the things that we don't pay enough attention to chapter titles. So I always try and talk about it in the beginning of the episode, because I've gotten more revelations from chapter titles than almost anything else, just by actually paying attention to them for the first time.
Light, Jordan. Light. Blood and bloody buttered onions.
So they pop into the room, again with the need.
The room.
Full of dust, and which is the name of the title. And there's a whole, which seems a bit of under the dust. Yeah, what's
under the dust. It's under the dust. Oh my god. How did I not put that together until right now?
Oh, you didn't?
I'm leaving. My brain is broken for tonight.
Yeah, it's the name of the chapter. Everything's all under a thick layer of dust.
Man, you were right. Chapter titles. I know it's been like 30 seconds since you made that point, but like, goddamn, you're right about that.
And I was like, oh, and yeah, that was fun.
This room is a room that Nalesian dies for.
Yeah, a lot die for it, because the golem
A lot of people die for this room because of the golem. Like, Kin die, Red Arms die, Nalesian dies in one of the most horrific scenes I've ever read ever.
One, yeah.
This is the room that all of that happens for.
And not just the room, what's in it. The Terangrial, the Sangrial, the Bowl of the Winds, like all that stuff, they catalog. Don't they also get like the bronze knife that protects you from the Dark One seeing you? Like, so many things come out of this room which are critical to the last battle. And that's that prophecy, whereas if the right hand picks up the bowl, they'll find a treasure almost as great, which is all the other shit in the room.
Yeah. Not to mention the Kin.
I guess, yeah. I guess you can call the Kin a treasure.
The Kin are found as a direct result of the quest for the Bowl of the Winds.
Aren't they mostly used for healing during the last battle?
I want to say yeah, and also traveling. I feel like you get a lot of the 2-person circles that make the traveling, like, as a service.
Because Elayne takes basically possession of the Kin.
Right, and is like, I want Camelin to be the city that you operate out of.
And the traveling hub.
Right, and the hospital.
And it's a brilliant economic move, because that'll last.
Oh, fuck
And
yeah.
all of a sudden you
yeah.
become...
Yeah, the port of the world. I'm thinking of what Elayne is setting up in her bargain with the kin, not what happens during the last battle. Traveling happens at the Fields of Merilor, and the hospital happens in Mayene. But Elayne talks with the kin about how Camelin could be where Aes Sedai retire, and where they can have like a hospital that anyone can get treated, and so on and so forth. But that's all very post-last battle arrangements. During the last battle, it's all different.
Not to mention she's got the Black Tower on her land.
Right, which is a thing. So, but yeah, if you think about the number of ter'angreal that are absolutely critical to the last battle, we've got the knife that hides Rand from the Dark One. We've got, I don't honestly know how many different just basic like Angreal and sa'angreal.
Isn't Nyneave's Paralis net found in here?
Yeah, basically Nyneave's entire set. The well,
yeah, it's all set.
The bracelet, everything that she has comes out of this. The truth and lies, or the fiction and nonfiction.
The library ter'angreal.
The library ter'angreal, that comes out of this. Which, obviously doesn't matter in the last battle, but like every Brown's heart goes pitter-pat when that comes on.
Essentially, they just got access to a library in the Age of Legends. Like, that makes
really want to know who curated that library.
a difference in the future, right? Like, all of a sudden, they're going to be able to rediscover so much from that thing.
Yeah, especially the nonfiction section. Like, ooh.
I bet there are plans for showings in there.
Right.
Plans for,
right. Like... weaves that break down waste and all
that
of
that make a modern city as opposed to a feudal city.
Right. Lifts and I mean, honestly, like, I don't even know where Rand gets that seed from that he gives to Elayne. It might be from the storeroom that's full of this stuff, for all we know. He might have walked through with his LTT vision on and been like, yes, I'm going to pluck this out of her own stash of random shit and hand it to her with an explanation.
I thought it came from Rudian.
Nah, it probably.
Or it might just be a Deus Ex Machina. I have this.
Right, yeah, I mean, we don't know. But there's a lot of things we know matter to the last battle. There's probably a lot of things we can assume matter to the last battle, and more relevantly, to the world after the last battle. The Fourth Age probably benefits massively from them discovering this room.
I wonder if the ter'angreal that makes Angreal, is it all related to the ter'angreal that makes Waygates? Probably not.
Probably not, because Waygates came about pretty late in the timeline of events. But it's probably not an unrelated piece of technology.
They both have levers in them.
Yeah, they're both made out of, like, machined stuff that does things.
Way to get that connection solid there. All right.
It's made of matter. Yay!
Probably.
Probably.
Unless it's in Teleron Riyadh.
Right. Or in the steading. Because honestly, who knows what's going on in the steading?
Why can't Min see visions around Ogier?
Because they're not part of this world.
But are they not part of the pattern? Like, they're part of the pattern.
No, they're part of the pattern. They're from a different dimension of the pattern. Whereas fades are slightly out of phase with the pattern. And the Dark One is outside of it entirely because, in my opinion, the Dark One is entropy existing in the spaces that are not. Which I feel like I'm also coming across that concept in another series I'm reading right now, because I know that Fate is nodding happily at his podcast at this very moment. Hi, Fate. Yes, I'm working on the books. I know. But entropy as an agent of plot drivingness is the point.
What books?
A Pattern of Shadow and Light. But I just got to the part where it's like, here is a persona that essentially has a face for entropy. And I'm just like, wow, I like this a lot. But yeah, I'm only on book 2. So, well, yeah, book 2, Dagger of Aden-Gadeath. And look, I love the plot, but I need there to be less eyebrow raising. The number of eyebrows getting raised is... Is
that the smoothing skirts and folding your arms under your breasts? So,
yeah. Yes, yeah. Except that it's only raised eyebrows. In Robert Jordan, he's got 3 different things. Melissa McPhail, or no.
I'm just going to raise my eyebrow at that and be like, really?
Yeah, you should arch an amber brow at me.
Arch. Consider it arched.
Yeah, thank you. You're more of a brunette than an amber, but you know.
What can I say? I am what I am. So they channel into the bowl. It does the thing, which is kind of cool.
It goes swirly, swirly.
You know, that reminds me of... did you ever play Myst back in the day?
Yes, my dad was in love with Myst and played a few games with me.
And when you opened up the books, you would see sort of the picture on the page move and then swirl and then settle back down. Also, if you looked up, if you went into the library, this is a ridiculous detail. If you went into the library and looked up at the ceiling, it was a sky. And if you clicked on it, it did a slight animation that was exactly what I think the Bowl of the Winds would look like. Because it was a globe. It's the sky, right? And you click on it and the sky swirls.
I'm thinking of the one that came as the third or the fourth one is the one that I remember really vividly. And I swear to God, I can remember that animation. Yeah, I have attempted to play Original Myst. I never played Riven, but either 3 or 4, my dad bought it and we played it together as like a thing for a while. And I don't remember anything about it. I remember being creeped out by the music. I didn't like how sinister the musicscape was.
I've always thought the music was beautiful.
I found it really sinister, but the visuals were beautiful, and my dad would obviously just, like smoke some weed and play whatever the name of the particular Myst game was with, his 9-10-year-old daughter, and it was good times. So yeah, it's a shallow bowl of thick crystal more than 2 feet across, and it looks like mist on the inside, and we mean mist with a Y.
So yeah, great thing. They pull it out. I love this line. It was small. They had to shift around tattered coats and dented pots and parcels that crumbled to reveal figurines and carved animals of all sorts of rubbish. That rubbish, I'm guessing, is Terran-Riel.
Mm-hmm. Figurines and carved animals. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But like junk and treasure rolled all together into one. I mean, I think Elayne gets rid of like half a hamper of like bits of armor and chair legs in like 20 minutes of sorting.
Totally. And when Avienda sorts it out, when they like hand her stuff and she knows what it is, there's a couple of piles that pile up, and that's after they've sorted the obvious junk, and the pile of junk that is much, much bigger than the pile of useful stuff. I mean, the kin were just sorting away anything that even like was suspected of being associated with power.
Right. They're like, the entire contents of this room are now going into this other room.
And the stuff that's not actually has any power running through it is just going to rot, like anything does over hundreds of years.
Right. I like Obscure's question here. Who the fuck actually owns this building? It must be the kin. Yeah. The kin must own it.
The kin is an ancient organization with people who live for, 600 years. Like, I know it's dusty and shit, but that only takes a decade or two. Like,
right, and that's part of why there's such a high concentration risk, because it's been centuries of them finding an item here and a backpack there and an old crate over there. It's centuries of that accumulation.
And I imagine they just open the door, toss stuff in, and then like hope nothing goes wrong.
Obscure, I don't think they're guarding it, because if you guard something, that means there's something to be guarded. This is a hide in plain sight strategy. Leah, they didn't forget about it. They know exactly where it is.
Yeah, when they're asked about it,
once Elayne bullies them into admitting about it,
leads them right to it.
But they're just like, it's a pile of junk. We don't know what it is. We're going to assume nobody else knows what it is, so we're just going to let it continue to be obscure. And I didn't realize the pun I made until right now. I said it's obscure in responding to obscure, and I didn't mean to do that.
The thing is, like, they don't want to attract attention from the White Tower at all. So anything even vaguely related to the tower gets tossed in a pit and never looked at again. And this room is that pit. It's like, we don't want to interact with it. We don't want to risk ourselves. We don't want to risk attracting attention.
The kin are like masters of disguise to the point that it's really hard to get them to be themselves once they get brought into the light.
I actually think that life sounds really cool. Just doing a bunch of different careers over and over and over again. And getting like awesome.
Dude, I'm all about the immortal life. I'd be down for that. Yeah, I could totally see doing that every like half century or so. Go back to school and learn a new thing and then take up a new trade.
It sounds like a blast, yeah.
Like, that does not seem like a bad scenario. As long as I have at least one friend to go through it all with.
And like, there's other kin, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
And like, you don't deal with all the shit from the Aes Sedai. Like, I'm like, dude, kin, run. Like, you don't want to be part of this shit. Like,
like I know, right? Like, oh, we want to be part of the tower. Like,
really?
Do you
really?
though?
Really?
Damn.
Okay. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Like, you have no idea what's actually going on inside the tower, do you?
Careful what you wish for.
It might come true.
Oh, it's a good point Obscure's making, that any novice that, or anyone who ran away from the tower with an Angreal, that Angreal would have been confiscated into the kin's cache. We know that a lot of them ran away with items if they could. That could be where some of the tower's long-lost items went.
Yeah, that could be. Some items just, like, they get taken out by Aes Sedai, and, like, the Aes Sedai dies. No one knows where it is, and then it's just back in circulation.
Right. Circulation.
And by circulation, I mean tucked away in either the stone or in this fucking room in Abu Dar. Those are the two big... I mean, the fact that the Forsaken... Or in the tower, in the White Tower. Those are the three... I've always said, I think one of the biggest plot holes of the series is that the Forsaken can't get Angreal.
Yeah, seriously. They know about the tower, and they know about Rudian. And they know about the stone.
Do they know about Rudian?
Well, I would assume that after Lanfear watched Rand and Asmo beat the shit out of each other at Rudian, they knew about Rudian.
Yeah, well, she certainly does. Oh, of course, then I always say Lanfear already has a really powerful Angreal. Or Angreal.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, Rand and Asmodean, they break the enchantments that make it hard to get to Rudian. So it seems like, again, like, the Forsaken might be like, oh, this weirdly warded place is now open. Let's go check it out. Oh, look, there's shiny, awesome shit everywhere.
Because he just leaves it all on the floor.
But they don't.
He doesn't take any of it.
Aside from the access keys, that's it. And the fat little man, or whatever he takes.
And he doesn't take those right away. He goes back for them later. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I think that's one of the bigger plot holes, is like, really, guys? You can't just fucking get some of your dark friend Aes Sedai to steal some Angreal from the tower?
Yeah, I agree. It's a very odd plot hole. But also, the Forsaken are already OP, so there's that.
There is that.
Logic needs to, like, bow to the plot.
We get this line, what you need isn't necessarily what you want. Lenny used to say that, which I love that's a Lenny saying. But I think that has a lot to do with this chapter, right? I talked about that earlier, that what they wanted was a way to get the Rebel Aes Sedai to support Rand. What they got was a way to solve... What they needed was a way to solve the weather crisis.
Yeah. We've got some excellent foreshadowing hypocrisy here, where Nyneave yells at Elayne for channeling into the bowl, and she's like, you might still yourself, blah, blah, blah. And Elaine's like, well, I know what I'm doing. This is the city that Satala Anan lives in. Satala Anan was the last woman to make a serious profession out of studying ter'angreal. She had 40 years of experience. She knew way the fuck more than anybody, much less Elaine's 6 months of apprenticeship. And she stilled herself with exactly no memory of what happened, and she lives maybe a mile or less from this spot.
Well, she's the key to finding the bowl.
So I just think it's amusing that Elaine's like, well, I know what I'm doing. And it's like, so did Satala when she was whatever her name was before she became Satala, that I'm forgetting right now.
That's one of those connections that's not obvious. That's Tal Anan there's a story they tell about is it a brown sister who's studying Angreal?
I want to say so.
Who stilled herself, what was it, 20 years ago?
Yeah, 20, 30 years ago, something like that.
2030s. And it lines up with Tal An's timeline. Mm-hmm. And that's something that...
No, it's totally her.
I think I only learned very recently. I knew she was stilled, but I didn't realize that the story about the Aes Sedai who made a study of ter'angreal was her.
Yeah, it was something that clicked to me after many rereads, but then I was like, these two disparate stories fill in the gaps for each other and make one much more rich backstory that, like, you have to work for her backstory. That does not get handed to you.
Well, I spent a lot of time earlier talking about how much I like that.
Yeah, Satala is one of the most excellent Easter eggs in the whole series, in my opinion.
So they head out, and they're just trying to figure out where the room is, and they go looking for some sort of landmark, and they get lost looking for a landmark. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah, and then welcome to a sloggy subplot that will last for books and books and books.
5 or 6 stories.
Where is this room?
6. It's 6 stories. I'm just going to yell that every time they ask that question in this podcast. 6.
Yeah,
6.
it's 6.
Even alliteration, 6 stories.
Right. I appreciate a lot, honestly, that he never noted it here.
Yeah.
And that's why our narrators don't ever figure it out until they empirically prove it. I appreciate that, even though I'm angry about it.
And you can't be like, Elaine's wrong or Nynaeve's wrong. Like, you can't, well...
Exactly!
Not until you actually... Because you don't know. And you can't, so you're like, oh, shit.
Right. Like, they end up picking which side they have settled on, but it's as good as a coin toss.
Right. So they figure out they're in Abu Dar with all the canals, and it's not Ilion.
Right. Yeah, that they're in the Rahad of Abu Dar. They got that narrowed down. The district of a city that's conveniently not that far away from them. Only a few hundred miles.
And downriver, too, so easy trip.
Mm-hmm.
You would like Abu Dar, Nyneave. Abu Dar wise women know more about herbs than anybody. They can cure anything. Would you like to explain?
Kin alert.
Yep. That's the kin channeling. It's not herbs. It's the power.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's the one power.
Tom says there used to be leopards here, but they left because they found Abu Dari too touchy to live with.
And again, I think Nyneave really just wants to get away. She doesn't really care where. She's just kind of freaking out.
Which is a really oddly selfish little subplot for Nyneave.
Yeah, I mean, but that's, again, she often is motivated to do things by, she wanted to get out of the circus because reasons. Not,
right,
she wasn't,
yeah.
It was very much all about, she lets her personal motivation affect her quests, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And by lying to herself, she comes up with the stuff. She's like, "Oh, we need to get out of here for Rand," and it's like, "No, you need to get out of here because you don't want to get a bucket of water dumped on your head, and you're afraid of failing, breaking your block."
I did not come here for this personally relatable content.
You don't want to confront what you need to do, so you are avoiding it and procrastinating by going to another fucking city instead of dealing with the block that's right in front of you. No, not relatable at all.
Entirely unrelatable.
Nope, I don't avoid responsibility in the slightest by procrastinating.
I hate Nyneave because she's inconsistent, not because she reminds me of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not that I hate what I see in myself in Nyneave. That's not what's going on at all.
Right, the overcompensating by being a bully to everyone, yourself most of all. It's not helping anyone. Spoiler alert, newsflash to myself. This is not helping.
I like how the first thing Elayne says is, well, we need to put it in Shiriam's hands, this cash. But good thing you didn't, because...
I know, right?
Black friend alert.
Shiriam would have been like, oops, I broke it.
Yeah. Oh, let me just give a few of these... I mean, she gives the Dream Tarnifier to the Forsaken, so I'm assuming she would have given all those, just funneled them right to the Forsaken, whether she wanted to or not,
Oh, yeah. She would have sabotaged or stolen every single ter'angreal. This one would have been... Oh, God. I mean, can you imagine if the last battle had a Bowl of the Winds on the dark side instead of on the side of light?
Make the heat worse.
Although, I'm wondering, back to Skylake's point way before, if the tower does have a Bowl of the Winds or some other weather device in that storeroom, who's using it during the last battle?
I don't think it's in there. That's the thing is, I think their goal changed. I think they started off looking for something that would convince the tower... or the rebel Aes Sedai to support Rand.
Right. No, when you got up to get a beer, I was reading Super Skylake's comment, and he had said that he thinks that the tower also had a weather device in it.
I disagree.
And that was why they started there.
Yeah. No, I've definitely heard that theory, and I disagree. I think that they changed their goal when they got to the storeroom, and so it changed the ter'angreal they were looking for. I don't think there was any weather ter'angreal in the White Tower.
I can buy that primarily because if there was, we would see it in the last battle, and we don't.
I don't know how extensively they raided the storerooms.
That's a good point, but at the same time, if they had raided the storerooms at all, they would have grabbed that because they would have remembered.
Right. They would have been like, oh yeah, there's another Bowl of the Winds here. This is what it looks like.
So the fact that we don't see that, I think, is pretty solid evidence against.
I agree.
I just want to laugh at the secret that Aes Sedai ought to investigate is how Elayne is so fucking pretty all the time. I think that's worth laughing at.
I just wanted to say that women are extremely pretty with a mess of a hair getting up, with a pillow mark on one cheek. That's when I find women the most attractive. So that's all I'm saying.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's a whole thing. And I just want to express that the end of this chapter makes my heart break for Nyneave. So read us out.
And that's why I wanted to read it. Nyneave stretched out again, staring at the ceiling through the darkness. At least they would be on their way to Abu Dar soon. Tomorrow, maybe. A day or two at most. To ready themselves for the journey and stop a passing riverboat, at least. Suddenly she remembered Theadren. If it took 2 days to get ready, Theadren would want her 2 sessions. Sure as a duck had feathers. And she expected Nyneave not to sleep tonight. There was no way she could know, but, sighing heavily, she climbed out of her bed. There was not much room to pace, but she used it all, getting angrier by the minute. All she wanted was to get away. She had said she was not very good at surrendering, but maybe she was getting good at running away. It would be so wonderful to channel whenever she wanted. She never even noticed the tears that began leaking down her cheek. Yeah, just the frustration and anger that she's been experiencing for so long, just coming out in all sorts of ways.
And she's so close to the nadir of her process.
Right.
This really is the nadir
Right.
of her process.
Right. This is her learning how to surrender. Like, she's really trying to do that now. And I like that it takes her nemesis to teach her how to channel.
Thanks, Moggs.
Thanks, Mom. I mean, Moggs. Because they call her Mother a lot when they're talking about her, because they say, Mother.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's hilarious that they have such an antagonistic relationship, and Moghedien is absolutely critical to Nynaeve's most powerful moment in her whole life that makes her the ultimate fucking badass.
Yeah, I'd almost say moments, right? I mean, that one-on-one, like, match in Tanchico where they're trying to still each other, like, that was a huge stretching moment for Nynaeve. Like, we talk about how, like...
And for her personality, too.
Yeah, and her confidence.
Her confidence is hugely impacted by that.
I almost feel like she's reverted a little bit since then.
Yeah. Well, because, think about it, she's got Moghedien under lock and key. And yet she still has her block, and she still has all these struggles. She's taken down her worst enemy, but not really.
Well, her worst enemy is herself.
Yeah, exactly. And herself is in a box that the Aes Sedai have created that is just not working.
What's
for
in
her.
the box?
She's gonna have to break out of that. Oh, boxes are such a fraught topic in this book. Could you see the thing on Twitter that was like, can you just imagine the awfulness of when there's figurines of Rand and they get put in boxes to get shipped? So wrong.
That's not good. If we don't have at least one Instagram video of Yosha climbing out of a cardboard box, like, I'm gonna be pretty upset.
What are you drinking tonight?
Water. I'll be like, I have almost completely stopped drinking during quarantine.
No.
I'm not drinking with anybody. I did a 6-pack 2 nights ago and regretted the fuck out of it.
Well, I mean, if you're not drinking a whole lot and then you take down a 6-pack, that...
Well, I gave away 2 of the beers.
Okay, still. I am an alcoholic, and 4 pretty much kicks my ass.
No, see, I used to just, like, again, working in a restaurant, like, 4 was... I'd have a shifty, which was, and again, this was a German place, so that was a liter of beer. And then I'd usually have another one. That's basically 4 beers right there, and they were often high percentage. And that was like a normal day for me. Then I come home and go to the bar. A different situation when you're just used to handling it, and now I'm like, oh yeah, 4 beers, no problem. Oh god, hungover.
Yeah, I'm just in a mission to destroy myself as quickly as possible. So I'm drinking Lagunitas Maximus IPA, and it's delicious.
Oh, it sounds delicious. I'm a little jealous. I'm going to have to get back into the habit of drinking during recordings. That's sort of, I fell out of the habit of that a little bit.
I mean, I can drink alone, it's fine.
Travis, give me a beer.
Or maybe it's better that somebody keep us on track, because I'm notoriously not on track.
There's no beer in the house, so he'd have to go out and buy some. So,
well, we literally had to bike to the store to get beer so that I could record.
It is an important thing, and I will admit that I've gone to the 7-Eleven across the street a lot for beer, and supplies during the quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of Reese's Pieces and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups that I've eaten, because like every time I go there, I pick up a pack. That's my like gift to myself. Yeah, that adds up.
Yeah, especially when that's like, about the exercise. Though I guess you have a dog to actually get you out of the house. I have nothing to get me out of the house.
That's true,
I have
yes.
only my motivation to get out of the house.
Timber was great He gets me up in the morning, gets me out at night. Actually, I had to do a quick 5-minute walk now, right before the recording, and he was not happy about the shortness of that walk. He's giving me some shit right now. I'm getting the stink eye.
No.
But
I got a picture of him in my latest Broken Earth show notes because you were talking about him, so I went and found one of those glamour shots that Travis took and had on your Instagram. It's just, he's so cute.
He's so cute. During the summer, early summer and spring, he dealt with a lot of allergies, and he was actually he had a bunch of really bad, bald, patchy spots where his skin had just basically scabbed up. It's just, managing skin allergies is hard. I've actually switched his food to a different food, with more limited ingredients, just to try and figure out. Mm-hmm. I think it's pollen related. I don't think it's food related, but I'm, experimenting.
I mean, the Willamette Valley or dog food, both are really, really valid candidates.
So, and the only reason I think it's the valley more than the food is that it's very seasonal. Mm-hmm. In the summer, when the sun kills everything and nothing's blooming, he gets better. He's great now, but the second it starts to rain and everything starts blooming again, he'll get itchy again.
Oh.
But, I wanted to rule out the food just in case, because it's just been something we've been dealing with for years, on and off.
Poor baby.
But I'm excited to... He actually seems to be doing really well right now on this new food, so...
Yay.
He's, cute again. Because for a while, he's... Not to be mean, but he was kind of ugly, and you,
Yeah.
Dogs a little patchy with their hair, and he had, a little some bald spots, and some redness, and some oozing coming out of his ears, and I was like, you're kind of gross, dog.
Yeah. Poor buddy.
You need to take care of that. I've been a bad owner. So how you been doing this week?
Pretty good. Just working on getting this house bought. Spoilers, guys. Buying a house is a lot of work.
That's not spoilers. That should be common knowledge. Where are you looking?
Not that far from here. We're going out into the country, though, and being way closer to some of my family. So the anticipation of, I can't really do anything in some respects, because it's now we should just be packing in preparation for when all the paperwork goes through, and then otherwise I'm mostly procrastinating on Broken Earth, though I did a bunch of work on it today. It's getting very close to being ready for publishing on Monday.
Nice. Do you have a close date?
We're hoping it's going to be closed by October 1st. That's the timeline as it's going right now. That's where it's at. But any hitch in any of the 18,000 processes along the way pushes that date out. So,
well, congratulations. That's really exciting to be buying your first house.
Oh God, I'm so excited to have land and privacy, and oh my God.
I'm not going to be so, need a roommate?
We have a lot of space. I am looking forward to when we're going to be able to be festival time, because there's space. The summerness of, oh my God, please next summer be a good summer.
How far of a drive would you be from Portland?
Hour and a half, 2 hours. Be easy. Real easy.
Yeah, I'm going to spend some time camping on your land, just so you're aware of that. Just
telling
you that
gorgeous. Now. Yes. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
But it's a thing.
Yeah. The other place I can go is my parents, and they have a nice piece of land, but it's a 5 to 6 hour drive, and that's hard.
A bit. You'd be jogging west, but it would be worth it.
Probably not bikeable.
No. I mean, technically, lots of people do it.
Oh, sure, but not
But they're all insane, and it's not a wise choice. One should not do these things.
Oh, bicyclists. They're a special kind of insane.
My mom actually biked the route between Eugene and Florence before she had me. She likes to tell the story of how she almost wiped out because her bike was going way too fast and she couldn't hit the brakes because too fast. But I have been driven on that road hundreds of thousands of millions of times at this point, I swear to God. And it's just what were you thinking? And granted, we're talking 30 years ago, right? So there's some improvements that weren't made at the time.
Remember, 30 years ago was the 90s, guys.
Yeah, well, we're talking late 80s because I was born in 90, but yeah. There's definitely some lane widening that has happened since then. But there's no shoulder. It's up and over a hill and there's no damn shoulder. Yes, let's bike it.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Those blind curves sometimes are just freaking hard. It's hard, yeah.
But it's also a really nice, if you can manage to survive the commute out there, it's a really nice landscape to just snuggle yourself into and vanish into a, sheen of moss, ferns, and Christmas trees.
Oh, I've made the drive down many times and passed through that area, and it's gorgeous. Just absolutely gorgeous.
It's our favorite watershed in the whole world, so we're excited to be moving back to it.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or
support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?
We gotta get through this chapter before we lose all of our words.
Well, we've made it through like 1 or 2 pages. No, yeah. We're good. Yeah.